Hello everyone, I'm Josh Pose and welcome to the penultimate episode of this season's Toss-Up. With Masters in the rear view, that is, it's time to lace up our skates and hit the ice. The Stanley Cup playoffs begin this weekend and there's plenty up for grabs. Will the Edmonton Oilers finally break through? Can the Buffalo Sabres make noise in their first postseason appearance in 14 years? Or will Sidney Crosby lead the Penguins back to Lord Stanley? Shaving is overrated this time of year, so let's roll the intro, drop the puck on this NHL Playoff edition of the Toss-Up. It truly is the best time of year when average guys become playoff heroes, when rally towels are waving, when overtime games go deep into the night. And of course, if we are lucky, we get the two best words in sports, Game 7. Before we get into all the topics, I have to introduce my line mates here for this episode from left to right. We got Jack Rizzo, we got Chase Sotsky, and we got Zach Cohn. Guys, thanks so much for joining me about some playoff hockey. How are we feeling?
Feeling great.
We're good. We kind of discussed things before taping. We're cooled down after some debates. Jack, I want to start with you. We're going to go with the feel-good story after all that arguing that we had. Buffalo, the Sabres just won the Atlantic for the first time since 2009. They're in the playoffs first time since 2011. How good of a feel-good story is this?
It's one of the best feel-good stories in hockey in recent years, and I think it's for two particular reasons. Number one, not only have the Sabres won the Atlantic, they have just dominated their opponents. They only have 8 regulation losses in the last 4 months. Number two, they're doing this all with Lindy Ruff. This is the man behind the bench in Buffalo when they went to a Stanley Cup final in '99, when they won back-to-back President's Trophies. This is a great story, and the best part about it is I 100% think that the Sabres are going to be able to keep their strong play through the rest of the playoffs, especially with that goaltending duo they have, one of the best in the league.
Yeah, their forecheck, I watched them the other night. It's something else when you got Tage Thompson getting 40 goals in the season. That's good. Zach, I'm going to go to you on feel-good stories. You got the 2010 Stanley Cup runner-up. You got the Philadelphia Flyers. They're back in the playoffs for the first time. Shout out Patrick Kane. I mentioned 2010. I know you're a Red Wings fan, but first time in 6 seasons that the Flyers are in. They've got a great young core. Is this just the beginning for them?
Here's the thing. I love watching the Philadelphia Flyers. Again, you mentioned I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan because they remind me of my Detroit Pistons. And I say that because when you think about Philadelphia hockey, you think gritty, you think physical, you think tough to play against. And that's how those teams came up. That 2010 team that you just mentioned, that's how they were built. The foundation at its core is let's play physical. Let's wear down these other teams. And that is exactly what this Philadelphia Flyers is. You've got this perfect mix of the veterans with Owen Tippett and Travis Konechny chipping in, and then these flashy young guys like Matvei Michkov and Porter Martone, who just recently made his NHL debut and has been incredible. And there's still so many prospects yet to come up. They've got solid goaltending. The whole lineup is just so solid, and I am in love with this Philadelphia-Pittsburgh Penguins playoff matchup that we're about to get in round 1. I don't know who's going to win that, but I tell you this. Pittsburgh's going to be the favorite, and they should be. It's Sidney Crosby. They've got the experience. But Philadelphia, if they get to a Game 7, that is not a team I want to play.
No, you got the Keystone State rivalry. It's just going to be tensions are high. Like you said, they might just turn into the Broad Street Bullies again. It might just be a new era. Chase, we're going to stay in the Eastern Conference, but we're going to go with Carolina here. Once again, they're back in the fold. True contender for the Prince of Wales trophy and finally represent the Eastern Conference in the Cup final. What's different about this Carolina team than those years past where they just came up short?
To be honest, nothing. They brought in the biggest free agent this year in Nikolaj Ehlers. He's been pretty good for them, over 60 points so far this year. At the end of the day, there's not that much different with this Carolina team. The question still comes down to, can you trust the Tendies? And will they get over the hump? They don't play with, a big superstar like McDavid. Aho is leading their team with just 80 points right now. The real thing that stands out to me is when you look at the bracket, there's no Florida. They're their kryptonite of the past couple years. They made it to the conference finals. They have been able to get over that hump. The reason has been Florida. Now, will another Florida team potentially meet them in the Eastern Conference Finals and stop them? Will it be a different team in the Atlantic? I don't think it's one in the Metro. Will it be another one of the teams in the Atlantic? Can Carolina be stopped? It's a tough question. It's happened in each of the last however many seasons, but there really is nothing different about this specific team. It's kind of just who else can compete with them.
Yeah, there's no more rats around them. And as Jack said when I first saw him today, he said there's no Rangers either. The Rangers have knocked him out of the playoffs too.
That's right.
So I guess Jack's onto something. We're going to get out of your guys' conference, the Eastern Conference, get into my neck of the woods in the Western Conference. Chase, I'm going to go back to you as we flip out west. It's another one of those teams that haven't gotten over the hump. We talked about the Canes, and there's nothing different with them, is what you said. Edmonton doesn't have Florida to face this year, that they're not in the playoffs. But there's no Leon Draisaitl for the near future. They hope he gets back for the playoffs at some point, but how important is it that he gets back for them to get back to the Stanley Cup final and then finally get over what you said, Mike Woodson, the hump?
Well, eventually, it's extremely important. In the first round, depends on who they play. That's still not finalized just yet. It's not necessarily the most important. What I was reading, he might be back, is hopeful to be back by game 3 or 4, potentially. I mean, who knows with this type of injury? You never really know. Coaches are never going to want to say they're out for too long, especially if they have an actual chance of getting back. But Draisaitl is arguably a top 5 player in the game still. If he's not on the ice, that's a huge disadvantage for any team, especially a team like Edmonton, who really needs that offensive firepower. Now, their defense has been better this year than they have in years past. But, you know, in order to get over the hump, their hump is the Stanley Cup final. Can they even make it there? The Central Division was one of the best divisions in all of hockey. The Pacific Division was one of the worst. They got to get through the worst to then beat the best of the West, to then beat the best of the East. That's a long road for Edmonton. I don't know if their best team is behind them or in front of them, but that remains to be seen.
You're giving a lot of credit to that Central Division, who has 3, maybe 4 good teams. Utah is not very good.
Well, at the top, that's where it's all really good at the top. The top
once
3.
You get past 3, you got Utah, and then everything else is kind of just mush from there. Zach, I'm going to go to you, and we're actually going to stay in that Pacific Division. Wow, if I can get words out. And then Anaheim, one of the youngest rosters in the league. They fly around the ice quicker than I've ever seen, and that's a pun intended. And they have a guy behind the bench, and my favorite coach, Coach Q, Joel Quenneville, won 3 cups with Chicago a decade ago. Yes, it was a decade ago. Can they be a team that makes noise?
Absolutely. Their top 4 point scorers this season are 22, 21, 20, and 25 years old. This is a team that is young, full of energy, and they're all making their first trip to the playoffs. The difference is they have a coach who is certainly not making his first trip to the playoffs. Joel Q is one of the greatest coaches of all time, simply put. The 3 Stanley Cups in Chicago. Is this the team that wins the Stanley Cup? Maybe not. We don't even know who their first round opponent is yet, but the reality is this is a team that is built for the future. I don't think that there's a ton of concern on if they win the Stanley Cup this year. I think they could absolutely make some noise. I think that they will win a first-round playoff series. But past that, I'm not banking on them to go much further. But this is absolutely a team that can make noise and certainly put a scare into an Edmonton if they were to play round 1, especially if Leon Draisaitl's out.
I know I'm going to make a lot of Blackhawks reference today, but they feel like that 2009 Blackhawks team that made it to that Western Conference Finals. They played your Red Wings that year, lost in, I think, 6. So it could be one of those transition years, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So Central Division, my home, but it's not really in the Central, Jack. Colorado, all they do is score. They lead the league in goals scored per game. They have that core of McKinnon, Nachos, Makar, Nelson, wrong Tays, but Devon Tays. The list goes on forever. Is this, in a postseason without premier goaltenders, is this their year to have offense carry them across?
Well, I actually don't think their offense is going to carry them across. I think it's the fact that, unlike most teams in the West, Colorado has not won. They have 2 starting caliber goaltenders. Both Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood have save percentages over .900 on the season. This is one of the best problems you can have if you're a playoff team. if one of these goaltenders ends up struggling at some point, you can turn to the other one. And when Colorado won in 22, they actually used 2 different goaltenders in that playoffs as well. But I think the depth of this team, it just speaks for itself. The fact that Brock Nelson is a 30-goal scorer this year, it just shows that guys like McKinnon, guys like McCarr, they just make everyone around them better. Look at what Marty Necas has done, his first full season in Colorado. They got the better of that Mikko Rantanen trade, but the one concern I have for Colorado is that second round, right? Because they're going to play the Kings in the first round, probably win in 4 or 5 games, I would say. They're going to be playing either a Dallas or a Minnesota team coming fresh off of what I expect to be an exciting series win. If that series doesn't go 7 games, I'm going to be very disappointed. But can Colorado keep that momentum going throughout the playoffs? And if they can, they have to be the favorites to win the Cup right now. Absolutely, 100%.
No doubt. But guys, we've gotten past those individual questions. We're ending this block right here, but I got a couple fun ones before we get into that next block. This time of year is known for tradition. And every team, the playoffs just bring more things, the playoff beards, all that stuff. I'm going to ask you, let's go Zach. Zach, go first. Best playoff tradition.
Yeah, I'm glad that you picked me first because I'm going to stick with my Detroit team, and I'm going to say the throwing the octopus onto the ice. It is, simply put, it's an older tradition, but it's one of the best in the game. Sneaking the octopus into the arena, throwing it onto the ice, giving the boys the jolt that they need. It's timeless, and when the Wings do make it back into the playoffs, hopefully next year, maybe a few more, it's going to be thrilling to see an octopus on the ice at Little Caesars Arena.
It'll be the first time, and Petta's not going to be very happy, that's for sure. Chase?
I love it when the players that win their conference decide not to touch the trophy.
You're a not-touch guy.
I like it when they don't touch. I'm not a superstitious guy, but there's something about it. I just enjoy that, there's something more to look forward to. They really want the cup. That's really what counts. You don't really care if you make it. You care if you win it. And, I'm not superstitious. I don't know if I would do that. But for the sake of tradition, I love it.
Just a little stitious is what you're saying.
Just a little stitious.
Little. Jack?
I'm going to go to a specific team. I'm going to go with a relatively new tradition, and it's unfortunate that this team isn't in the playoffs this year, but the Winnipeg Whiteout is without a doubt one of my favorite playoff traditions because they don't do it in the regular season. It's strictly a playoff tradition, and I know what people are going to say. Any other team trying the Whiteout plays second fiddle to Penn State? I really don't think so. Last year when Winnipeg played St. Louis in the first round, all 4 of their wins in that series came at home. It is one of the most intimidating playoff atmospheres to go in. It is amazing that Winnipeg got their team back. They should have never left the first time, and I think it's without a doubt one of the best traditions, and it's so unfortunate that we're not going to be able to see it this year.
Scored in those late seconds because of the whiteout crowd, and that was a great series. And I'm actually going to answer myself for the first time. I'm going to go with chanting at a goalie after they give up a goal. I remember Nashville, it was the Crawford chant. Hey, can we have another? He shoots, he scores, you suck, Crawford. That's a great, I love any of those chants because you can get 20,000 people chanting one guy's name. You see it multiple times every playoff. The guy gets in their head, they let up an easy goal. But guys, before we go to break, I know they're probably going to be mad at me because I added an extra one in there. Doc Emrick or Kenny Albert? Quick, Jack.
Doc Emrick, 100%. When you think of hockey, that's the first name in broadcasting that comes up.
Yeah, it's Doc Emrick.
Got to be Doc. It's the first voice you think of.
I'm going to go with Doc too, but like I told you guys before, Kenny Albert should get every single Stanley Cup until he doesn't want it anymore because the Olympics were fantastic. But we got a lot to cover more because coming up next, the guys will give us their contenders and pretenders and then give us picks on who will be the team hoisting the Stanley Cup in June. Don't go anywhere. You're watching The Toss-Up. Welcome back. In this segment, we're going to play a game of contender or pretender. Now, we don't have time to go through all 16 teams, but I will go rapid fire asking each of our panelists if a team is a contender or a pretender. We're going to start in the Eastern Conference, guys, and I know you guys are looking at the teleprompter right now. You guys are cheating. And I'm going to go with Jack first. Pittsburgh Penguins, contender or pretender?
Pretender, absolutely. They've taken advantage of such a weak division. I don't trust a team that's been so reliant on their special teams all year. Pretenders, 100%.
Chase?
I completely agree. I mean, you got Crosby, but I think age is just not on his side.
Zach?
I'm leaning pretender. I think Crosby has a chance to get them out of the first round. Past that, I don't see them beating anybody of note.
I'm going to go contender just to spite you guys. I think legends are going to be coming back in this playoff potentially. We're going to go back to you, Zach, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, this is an obvious contender. Not only is it the team with probably the most playoff experience, especially those deep runs, because they have won the Stanley Cups and they've lost Stanley Cups as well. Loaded with star power, this is absolutely a contender.
Anytime you've got Kucherov and Vasilevsky healthy, it's a contender.
Yeah, Andrei Vasilevsky, one of the greatest playoff goaltenders of all time. Tampa Bay, absolutely a contender.
All right, I'm going to go contender as well. I love John Cooper. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. Boston Bruins. Chase, go ahead.
Pretender. They're not making it past the Lightning, and I'm assuming that's the first round matchup. They're not going past.
Jack?
Look, they've had a great season, way better than we all thought, but pretenders. The East is just too loaded. I don't think there's enough top-end talent other than Pasta to carry them through.
Zach?
I'd agree. I love this Boston team. I want to say contender, but the East is so loaded. They have to be a pretender this year.
I'm sorry to someone who's watching this. Boston is, in fact, a pretender. Guys, I'm going to go to Buffalo. Who have I not started with yet? Was it Jack? Jack, I did not start
You
with.
started.
So Zach, you're up. Buffalo.
This one's tough because they're handing out the receipts right now on
their
X page. I don't want to do it, but they're a pretender. I'm sorry, I have to say it. They don't have the playoff experience. I love their team. I think Ottawa could give them a run for their money. I want to say contender, but I don't think that they get through Tampa Bay or Montreal. I think their run comes up short in the second round.
Chase?
I think their run comes up short in the second round, but I really want to say contender, so I'm going to. The Sabres have been one of the best teams in the East this entire season. They really came out of nowhere, and they built something strong, and it's been building for too long, and it's finally coming to fruition. They have a legit chance if they can get past that second round.
Jack?
I'm not going back on what I said before. Contenders. The Sabres do two things really well. They keep goals out of the net, and they kill penalties. Hello, Los Angeles Kings, two-time Stanley Cup champs. Perfect. Sabres, contenders, 100%.
I'm going to go with all of you guys. They are contenders. And then we're going to have to rapid-fire Western Conference. Zach. No, I already just went with you. Jack, Vegas.
Yeah, pretender, 100%. It's ridiculous they're even in the playoffs with all the overtime losses.
We don't have an agreement
That
there.
one surprised me. We made eye contact when he said that. I'm going contender. I know they weren't good in the regular season. Since Tortorella came in, they've been hot. You never know when it comes to Vegas and Tortorella.
I'm going to go contender. I think they could take advantage of the weak division. They won't beat the winner of that Central Division, but they're a contender.
Contender. Minnesota Wild. Chase.
I love the Wild. They're one of my favorite teams, especially coming into the year. They were one of my favorite teams, and I love them even more after that Quinn Hughes trade. This team is fun on both ends. They have a phenomenal goalie. This team, it's really tricky when you got Colorado and Dallas, but they can do it.
Jack.
Yeah, contender, 100%. It's going to be really tough for them to get out of that first round, but I think they're absolutely contender. Like a lot of these other teams, they have two great goaltenders. And if you have goaltending, you could go far in the playoffs. It doesn't matter how the rest of your team looks.
Zach.
I'm going to say pretender. This might surprise some people. They're a little too top-heavy for me.
Bold take. I'm going to go contender. I love Brock Faber. I don't know why. That's just my guy. Utah Mammoth. I just started with Chase, and I went here, so I'm going to go Zach.
Pretender. They're a really fun team. I think that they'll grow, and I think that they'll get better, but they're a pretender this year.
We got to keep it quick. I agree with everything he just said.
Perfect.
Hot take, contender, because of the field they have in the playoffs.
There you go. Dallas. I think that's going to be a first round between Dallas and Minnesota. Jack.
They're both, Dallas and Minnesota are both contenders. It's going to be a great series. 7 games for sure, I think.
I completely agree. Has to go 7. Both teams are contenders. Whichever one comes out, another tough test against Colorado.
Easy contender. Great team. They've been there before.
All right, quickly, we're going to go really quickly here. Who will be in the Cup final and who will Gary Bettman give the Stanley Cup to? Zach.
I think it's Colorado, and I think it's Tampa Bay. It's the two teams I trust the most. No, Florida this year makes it interesting. It's weak in some areas, and I'm going Colorado picks up their second Stanley Cup in the McKinnon tenure.
Chase.
I really want to pick something different just because you said that, but I can't. It's Colorado, it's Tampa. I trust both of them the most. They both have everything you want in a Cup contender, and again, I'm going Colorado.
Jack.
My preseason pick was Tampa versus Dallas. I'm not changing that. Tampa, I'm going with Tampa to win the Stanley Cup, and I think Jake Gensel will win the Conn Smythe. The guy just performs in every big game that he's a part of, so give me Tampa Bay.
I don't think you guys are going to like this. Colorado over Buffalo. Give me Buffalo. Let's go Buffalo. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. I'm excited for Saturday and everything to come in this Cup playoff. But that wraps up this edition of the Toss-Up. Be sure to continue the discussion at IUSTV Sports, both on Twitter and Instagram. Joe's got one last go around next week with Little 5 Talk, so I guess there's one thing left to do. Drop the puck. Enjoy the playoff hockey. So long.